Hello and welcome to another episode. So today I want to share with you an update with my Mythology deck cards. And this project started as an experiment. I wanted to try out, well, first of all, acrylic paint, but everything is to have a smaller format and create some sort of mythology logic of my own, something that wouldn't follow something that already exists, or even if it does follow it, it's not exactly with that intention. And I believe today I had a small breakthrough because I was trying to imagine, how do I best tell this story? How do I best tell the story of creating? It's not that much about the cards or what I drew. It's about the symbolism and these things that happen consciously and unconsciously when you're trying to come up with something, when there is no limitations. There is no system to follow and you can create anything you like. So on the menu today, I will share a few more cards that I created, and I want to share this kind of a booklet that I imagine later I'll have a physical version of, which kind of depicts what was the thinking process and what's the symbolism that I had in mind for each cards. So without further ado, let's dig in. Now, the very first card that I created when I was just starting out, this was sort of a creature that is supposed to symbolize good times. This was essentially the reason why I picked these dominant colors of blue and yellow. The more dark purple, which is the creature's shell, sort of, is to kind of symbolize this rugged outside with a vulnerable spot that is right there in the middle. The eye symbol is also very strong for myself, being noticed or, watching you, but also being vulnerable, because if this shell is hard on the outside, there's this spot that essentially is very open to other sorts of danger. The wings are golden. Wings itself can symbolize a lot of freedom. Golden wings, like, it's double the meaning. I left a spot under the card that I plan to fill in later. I think I'm either gonna have some sort of calligraphy practice that I'm gonna fill this spot with a cool name, or maybe just write a short story right there. And a little bit what this card symbolized for me. This is something that is free, vulnerable, something that is noticed, golden, and of course, very light in its own nature. The next card was more symbolic to a slightly more tense impression. This was the idea to have laid mask that dominates this image, and it's kind of, for me, was mostly referring to 2020 times, when you had to stay at home, and this is something that is related more to being sick, distance, alone, intense, dark, mysterious, and these two colors means a lot of tension being built up. Moving on. Next, I wanted to have something that would also be a little more positive. To be honest, when I was creating all of these, I tried to always balance to have at least one positive emotion card, at least one thing that would symbolize something that is good. So this was a symbol of abundance, why you have these happy colors, and it's soft, it's warm, it's joyful, and it's like kind of like symbolizing this beauty and serenity. I did highlight here this technique mistakes because since I was just starting out, it's very visible here. I use masking tape or painting tape, and I'm still struggling with it because it kind of bleeds out. And I saw a bunch of different hacks how to do it. So every time I do it, I try to use a different one, but it's still a work in progress. This was a lantern. It's not just a lantern. It's a lantern that is giving light in a storm. So you have this impression that you are lost in the storm, and this light is guiding you back to the light. This was a symbol of hope, and again, like two polarizing emotions where you have darkness in the background, but you have this beacon of hope that is showing you where to go next. Next one. Long story short, this is a symbol of chores, a symbol of something that is dull, that is boring, but it's still broken. It's still broken, like it's kind of working, but it's not really working. You can still do your wash, and this is just to remember the time when I was stuck in a place that I didn't want to stay, and I had to use a broken washing machine every once in a while. Next one. This was a symbol of kind of losing control for me. This was a memory that is built up strongly with when I had a sleep paralysis experience. It would left such a strong impression on my psyche that I wanted to draw it, and I wanted to make a picture out of it and have this also live in my mythology deck. Fear, being stuck, and having these tension building colors which are dominant with red and black. Now we're getting to the new cards. It was a drawing of a dragonfly. Dragonflies, as one of the more complex insects, had a very profound impact on humanity. There is a study called biomorphic engineering. That's why I call this a biomorphic masterpiece. The whole idea is to mimic the way the wings work and the way the dragonfly flies, how it moves through nature, and also, it has a lot of more complex features to it, essentially. Such a strong symbol of complexity, uniqueness, or something that is in nature and is so strong, as I also think it's quite a magnificent creature. Now this next card is another symbol of this dark figure that is wearing a mask of sorts. This mask is slightly different. The idea behind is to have a symbol of legacy, a symbol of... This was supposed to be a skull of an animal that has horns, and in the back you also see this cloak that should be made out of leaves, but I think I can do a better job depicting these leaves. But the idea was to have these dominant colors that was more green and black, to have this contrast between nature and this dark figure. Moving on to the final card that I've created so far. This is again another creature. It started out as a creature that something was looking more like this when I was just starting out to scribble, again, like doing something completely unrelated. Later on, like, I polished it up, figured where it would be, what would be happening in the background, choose a color palette and have these kind of like two strong symbols behind it. So one big symbol is essentially this void that is sucking everything in behind it. So it is a creature that comes out of this void. It doesn't have any eyes, and there's no eyes on purpose, because all this thing can do is pick up a sound or feel and essentially latch onto it. So this is, again, strong symbolism for me about drainage, being drained, parasitism, weaknesses, and you have these kind of like leech-like mouth. That was the reference that I used, and like these marks of taking that it took from somebody or something before. In parallel, it's not all negative, it's not all bad. There are some things that are always dual in this type of creatures, and the idea behind this one essentially there's a purge that is happening. There's this clinginess that you need to let go. There's something that is happening from the underground which you don't see, and it just comes out. Some other thoughts that were behind this one also was a lot about thinking about addiction, and how addiction works even for small things, from caffeine or energy drinks or social media or any of those things, something that kind of latches on to you. And there is a reason behind why this is happening. It's like a signal that there's something wrong, and you should pay attention to it and notice it. And that was the final card. And essentially the way I was thinking that when you open this booklet, it should give a brief explanation for some sort of system that is behind these cards. A system that would kind of depict that these are classified into different rows and sections. There is darker sections, so that would be on the right hand side. Everything that is depicting of something that is dual in nature, so it's not purely negative, but it's not as pleasant. And then these things that are more symbols of the good times, symbols of things that are good, or some memories about broken items or the magnificence of nature, but in a good way, of like its complexity and its natural way to be complex. I think what's interesting is the fact that when you're trying to create something without forcing the creation itself, meaning you don't just sit down and, okay, now I'm going to create something and I'm going to draw it out, or now I'm going to go sit down, I'm going to write the backstory and create it. Instead of that, just letting your mind wander, like let it wander throughout the day, through different days, and let it wander and come up with anything at any given moment in time. It can come from a dream, from a memory, from a particular object that just leaves an impression on you. And I guess very strongly this is why I wanted to learn to draw in the first place, is to be able to depict that feeling, to depict that particular emotion that is attached to an item, or an emotion that is attached to a dream, or maybe just a distant memory that is somewhere there. Thanks so much for watching. These were the first 9 cards. I hope to continue to be able to come up with something new. I wish you a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.